The price escalation addendum to the agreement of sale is an important document. And some of the things that you need to pay attention to is one, it is an addendum to your agreement of sale. So on the agreement of sale, you've got to make sure that down on section 32A, on this box here, you put price escalation addendum, parenthesis, PEAN, and check that box. This makes the price addendum and the agreement of sale now combined into one agreement. So you need to put that there, or someone can say or miss the fact that you have a price escalation agreement. One of the most important paragraphs is paragraph number 2 here on line 10. There's 2 blanks. The first blank that you see here is for you to place in the amount in which you want your offer to be escalated higher than any other offer. And that would usually $500, $1,000. I've seen the ones as high as $5,500. I've done offers and I've used an odd number like 1,050 just to be different and unique, thinking that if you have the highest offer that you're going to get the contract, and that's not true. The seller does not necessarily have to take the highest offer. They can take any offer they choose, whether it's the highest, the best, or a combination thereof. It's up to them at the end of the day. So, but that is the amount in which you're going to go higher on any competing offers. And when you're comparing the price escalation and doing an escalation to the other offers, you're supposed to be using the net purchase price. And the net purchase price is defined as the purchase price minus any concessions the seller is giving the buyer. For example, that would be seller's assist. So if I have one offer at $200,000 with $5,000 seller assist, and I have another offer at $200,000 with no seller assist, the net purchase price for the second offer is $200,000, the same as the purchase price. But on the first offer, it's the net purchase price is actually $195,000 because the seller is giving a $5,000 seller assist. So this is better defined and described in a document, which is the guidelines. You can find this on the PAR website. The guidelines for the price escalation addendum for the agreement of sale. It explains that why it exists, the background behind it, and then each of the terms that are there, and they defining each of those terms. It's important to understand that this is a binding agreement once it's signed by the seller. So here's that explanation of how you calculate to the net purchase price by taking the purchase price minus seller assist. And then in this example down here shows how it compares two offers. Both offers are for $200,000. So you're going to say, well, they're the same purchase price. Correct. But for price escalation purposes, you're going to have to deduct the $2,500 seller assist, and that gives you a net purchase price of $197.5 for offer 2 and $200,000 for offer 1. Then you can turn around and start escalating those based on that number. So this one here, you're escalating based on the 200,000, but this one here, you're going to escalate from the 197, and you're going to escalate it by $1,000. So now this one here is lower than this one. So you're going to escalate above this number of $200,000. So you're going to take it by 1,000 above. So now you're going to go to $200,500. Then you're going to take this one and escalate it higher again. So the maximum purchase price on this side is $207,005, and over here, their maximum is $205. So at the end of the day, offer number 2 will win because they have a higher maximum net purchase price. So I highly recommend you read this, and it'll give you a really good description of how to apply as a listing agent the escalations. Going back to the actual escalation, price escalation addendum, the second blank is the maximum that you're going to go to on a purchase price based on your escalations of the net purchase price. Keep in mind, if you get funny with a number up here of how much you're going to increment by, and your seller says, or your buyer says you're going to go to a number, make sure your escalation reaches that number. So if you're going to escalate by $1,100 over the next highest offer, and you're going to go to $230,000, and you started at 220, you will never hit 230. You're either going to come up short of that number, or you're going to go slightly higher than that number. So always take your purchase price that you're offering and apply your escalation amount to that number until you get close to the highest number that your buyer is willing to go. And make sure you exceed that 230. If it goes to $230,800, then make sure you put in $230,800 as your maximum so you can take full advantage of your escalation amount. Make sure your buyer knows what you're doing and agrees to that approach to the. Otherwise, you won't be at 230. You might be at 228.9. And make sure they're fully aware of that number because of you using an odd amount in your escalation, which is a good thing to do if you're trying to get to the highest price, not necessarily the best. Down here in gold, you'll see that if one or more competing offers include similar price escalation, this automatic increase will be applied to the maximum escalation sales price of the highest competing offer. And that was with that example over here, which automatically takes us up to 207, and it's at 205. But that doesn't mean that that's what the ultimate purchase price is going to be. It'll be less than that because I've got a $2,500 gap. So you would have to apply like they did here and see where your 205 is where their max is. Now I'm going to go up one more $1,000, going to be 206. Offer number 2 will be the winning offer at 206. Going back to the form itself, you then also have to select in this section here with these 5 boxes, what are you going to do? When I do these, the mortgage contingency is waived. This sale is not contingent on a mortgage. If you've got a buyer who waived it on the original contract, it remains waived here. You would check that. If you have a mortgage and you're taking a mortgage out, you can select number 2, where the mortgage amount or loan to value ratio will remain the same and the amount being borrowed will go up. That would be box number 2. Box number 3 is that you're going to cover as a buyer a portion of the gap, the difference. So you're going to pay, instead of at $250 at that $200,000 sales price, and you went up by $5,000, you're just going to bring additional cash to the table. And if it's not enough to cover it, then you're going to increase your loan. Within so many days of the execution of this agreement, you're going to provide them with a pre-approval letter, which is going to cover the new purchase price based on the escalations. I always highly recommend that when you submit an offer, your pre-approval will be high enough to cover the maximum amount of your escalation. This way you don't have to go out and try and get one later. And if you're going to do putting in cash in an amount, I always make sure I show a proof of funds as well as my pre-approval letter as well. This way, there's no questions after it's signed. They feel comfortable signing this document and having an executed agreement because they know you got the money, number 1. And number 2, they know that the lender will lend you up to that amount that you need them to lend. An appraisal contingency is attached. If you're attaching an appraisal contingency to this addendum, make sure you check that box as well. And there is a training session on how to do an appraisal contingency addendum and how to fill one out and the value of that. It's important to understand that once the seller listing agent has developed the escalations and has awarded a contract based on the escalations, paragraph 5 requires the selling agent, the listing agent, to provide the competing offer to the buyer no later than the time that the seller returns a copy of the executed agreement to the buyer. They can remove the name of the buyer of that second offer, but they can't change anything else. This doesn't permit or allow this here statement does not permit or allow the listing agent to provide you with just certain pages of that competing offer. They are to provide you with the entire offer from page 1 to page 14. Keep in mind, you're only using the offer of the competing offer to determine whether or not the net purchase price was calculated correctly and your final purchase price was calculated correctly. It has nothing to do with the terms, nothing to do with the financing of the other buyer. It has nothing to do with whether there were inspections or no inspections. It's strictly to determine proper calculation of the new purchase price. If the seller accepts that and does that calculation, they're going to come down here and they're going to fill the purchase price from your agreement on here in this blank, $200,000, and then the new price based on the escalation of the net purchase price to here, which is now $206,000. They're going to fill those two numbers in. Keep in mind, this area here was already pre-signed when you submitted the offer by your buyer. Once the seller signs here and dates it and signs the original agreement of sale, there is a binding contract once this contract is delivered back to the buyer. That means you, the buyer agent. It is now binding. If you don't provide the agreement of sale and this document to your buyer, the seller is not held responsible for that. You will be for a derelict of your fiduciary duties. So you have a problem, not the seller. They did what they were supposed to do. So when you get an agreement of sale executed from a listing agent, you better be sure to submit that to your buyer immediately. And if there is a price escalation agreement included, addendum, make sure you include that as well. Once that's all done, my recommendation is to talk to the listing agent and create a new a new agreement of sale, removing the price escalation agreement from paragraph 32, increasing the purchase price to the amount that was agreed upon based on the escalation, changing anything else down in the terms of the financing, and get a new clean offer that matches what you've agreed to based on the price escalation addendum and the original contract. You want to do that so that you have a clean agreement to provide to the lender, and the lender has a clean agreement that they can provide to the appraiser. And the fact that a price escalation was used is now not knowledgeable to anybody. It was used for negotiations and solidifying an agreement, but doing a clean agreement at that point is probably the best practice to do. And then use that when you provide it to your lender and to title and so forth and so on. So that's the price escalation addendum. If you have any questions on how to fill it out, when to use it, when not to use it, please feel free to reach out and ask, and I'll be more than happy, or Angela will be more than happy to give you additional guidance. On that note, I'll close with the question, should you use a price escalation addendum if you are the first agent submitting an offer on a property and you verified with the listing agent that there's other activity, there's a potential of other offers, but there are no offers in at this time. And you've also identified with that listing agent that if multiple offers come in, that they intend to use best and highest practice. If that's all true, do not use, in my opinion, do not use the price escalation addendum in your first offer, but stay very, very close to that listing agent so that you know whether or not you need to revise your offer, because there's nothing telling you or guaranteeing that they'll go to best and final. You want to call them once or twice a day, text once or twice a day, morning and afternoon, and at night, 3 times necessary. Ask, are any other offers actually been submitted? If the answer is yes, now run down, did you put a final best offer time frame in? Yes. When is it? Yes. Now you go and you amend your offer. Go back onto your original offer, update paragraph 32. You've already have the price escalation addendum filled out. You've reviewed it already with your buyers. Get them to sign the new agreement, the new price escalation, and repackage your entire offer into one email and resubmit it, and telling the agent that this is a resubmitted, revised, full offer. Please disregard the prior submission. This way you're not playing your hand being the only offer and telling you that you're willing to pay more than list price. They can negotiate with you to go higher than list. They don't necessarily have to take your offer at list price. Will it happen? Probably not, but it could happen. Because if they don't take your full price offer and you walk away, technically based on the listing agreement, that seller owes that listing agent a commission. Doesn't always happen, very seldom happen, but don't play your hand if you don't have to. So on that note, that's the price escalation agreement. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help you with it. If I'm not available, also you can reach out to Angela for that assistance as well. Please don't do your first price escalation agreement or any document that you use for the first time solo. Please get some guidance on it. If not from anywhere else, at least from the PAR's guidance for preparation and use. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the training video.